Hi all. The inspiration for this video is a result of that I have some serious health issues that have come to light recently. And consequently, I don't really know what my future holds at this moment in time. The health issues I have are a result of my own ignorance and stupidity, along with some factors that are outside of my control. Also, and because I'm aware of them now, and I've been down Pattaya several times for various reasons, I know I'm not the only one with it in Pattaya. And I see people walking around that obviously have very, very similar problems, but are maybe not aware why they have these problems. And they may not have the same reason, but I think a lot of them have. And also, the problems I have are a result of issues, as I said before, that are outside of my control. And I think the problems I have are probably very much a globalized problem. And in many countries, many people will have the same problem. And hopefully, like me, the mortality is in our own hands. But we have to be aware of it. And that's the purpose of this video, to try and make people aware of what I think has gone wrong in my life and maybe in thousands, millions of others around the globe. Let's get into it. So I think it's important that I should tell you a little bit about me and my history here in Thailand, living in Pattaya. I live here in a house in Pattaya with my family, my wife, Am, and my daughter, Sandra. I retired about 8 years ago after working in various places all over the world. And my very last job was in Rotterdam I was a senior project engineer on a major upgrade of a semi-submersible oil rig in Rotterdam. And I took the opportunity, as it was my last job, that I brought my wife, who wasn't my wife then, but my wife now, and I brought her to Holland, the Netherlands, to have a holiday, to have a good break while I was working there. And certainly during our time there, in my free time, we would do a lot of touring around Holland, and thoroughly enjoyable holiday. But the result of that was that our daughter was actually conceived at that time. And knowing what a lot of people on YouTube will think and what they like to comment, that you get more than tulips from Amsterdam, I can tell you that anyway. I got a very beautiful little flower that I'm happy to say is developing beautifully, and I'm hoping to stay around as long as possible to watch it grow, this flower grow here in Pattaya, and that is my biggest priority in my life at the moment. When I retired, I was 65 years old, and despite living a life of excesses in many ways, in food, drink, all sorts of things, I was reasonably healthy, I think, when I retired at 65. I was also very much aware of the importance of taking care of myself, both physically and mentally, to enjoy my retirement. To make sure I had something to keep me mentally thinking, and knowing that I was going to spend a lot of time in my retirement touring around the country, seeing the various aspects, I decided to start a YouTube channel where I could make videos of the places we visited, etc. I don't think I was ever really interested in the monetization side too much. Of course, it did cross my mind, it'd be nice to have, but that was not the main aspect of it. It was for something for me to do. And because I have a kind of an engineering background, it also kept me interested in all the developing technologies that went along with video making and video editing and what was available and what was coming, etc. Even today, I take a large interest in what's happening in the world of videos using AI. So it's still very interesting to me. But to date, on this YouTube channel, I have not even made $1, despite the years that I've done it. And I do have sufficient subscribers, but I think I struggle to get the watch hours in 1 year, which is not a big deal. And I'll come back to that in another video very soon on how I'm doing my videos and some things I'm changing that are much more interesting for anybody that might be thinking of making a YouTube channel in the future. As far as physical exercise was concerned, when I retired, I used to do a lot of walking. I do a lot of walking everywhere, even locally. And when we went touring around places, visiting different places, once again, I'd be doing a lot of walking. I also was playing golf fairly regularly. And despite having the electric cart to take me around the course with the caddy, I would still end up walking at least 70%, I guess, of the course just to get some physical exercise, which I knew was important. So the first few years of my retirement went actually very, very well. Financially wise, I have pensions, and I also had good savings from my previous work. And we were living for the first few years very, very well on a mixture of using my pensions and, of course, the savings, trying to not overdo the use of savings. And this was always something at the back of my mind, that it would help if I did get monetized, and that might help reduce the savings erosion. When I finally realized I wouldn't really be making anything from YouTube, then I looked at what other options I might have to try and get some sort of income while I was in retirement. And I did a very fortunate thing a few years ago when I was looking at this. And what I'd done was I took a teaching certificate in English, the TOEFL, which is teaching of English for foreign language speakers. And that gave me the impetus to start teaching. Now, the kind of teaching I was doing was online. I started on a platform called Preply to gain experience in the teaching aspect. And then after a few months, I moved to another platform called italki. And I will be doing another video in the near future on teaching English. So if you're interested in that, keep your eye open for that video, because there'll be a lot of information and very useful information in that video. Now, to teach English in schools in Thailand, you really need to have a degree as well as a teaching certificate. But because of the shortage, there are a lot of schools that can work it, and they're looking for teachers with qualifications such as TOEFL, etc., to work for them. And I did actually get approached by a couple of schools if I would be interested in going to teach for them. And I declined that because I enjoyed the ability to organize my day and my lessons online and not have to go somewhere and spend compulsory hours in a school teaching. So the online method was always my best option for me. Another exceptional piece of luck that I had in the last quarter of 2019, I got a student, a Chinese student. Her name was Mia, and Mia was at one of Beijing's #1 universities. In fact, I think it is reputed to be the best university in China. And this was a very, very clever lady who was looking for a future with the United Nations. And she'd already done one internship with them and was looking to get another one and hopefully get a career with the United Nations. She started taking lessons with me in English. Now, her English was already very, very good, actually. But to get work in the United Nations, she had to take an exam at a very high level in English. And this is the one that worried her. And we worked together for about 3 months, maybe 4 months, on her taking this exam and going into more advanced English. And the exam covered all 4 areas, actually, like listening, reading, writing, and speaking. So it's a big exam, and I think she had to get over 85% in this to be successful, to be able to even apply to the United Nations. At that time, I also started getting a lot more interested from other Chinese students, and I put that down to the fact that in China, a lot of the private schools that were there were closed by the government because the government thought it was giving a lot of students unfair disadvantage. So a lot of the teachers that have gone to teach in China were out of jobs and the schools were closed. And this made a lot of the Chinese students turn to online aspects to advance in aspects such as English. And that's what I put down to my increase in Chinese students. As it transpired, actually, Mia passed the exam with absolute flying colors. She got well over 90% in that exam, and she was really, really over the moon. And subsequently, she went on to get an offer of employment with the United Nations, and I believe is now there with them. She had to finish a master's degree, which I think she's probably done by now, and she's gone on to work with the United Nations. We became very, very good friends in the few months that I was teaching Mia, and she was a lovely girl. But what I didn't know was that she was reporting on the various Chinese social areas online, etc., about her lessons with me. And because of that, I got an absolute huge surge of students applying for me to teach them online. So much so that sadly I had to turn many, many away, and I was working all hours to try to help as many as I could. And this was probably the start of the big start of my problem. But as I've already said, I will be making another video very shortly about teaching online. And if you're interested in that, it's a must that you should watch that video, because I'll give you a lot of tips on how to be successful. So all this information I've given you to this time is pertinent to the problem I have, and you need to understand me to understand why I'm now in this very bad situation. Because right at this time when I was teaching Mia, what happened? The pandemic, COVID, came along. And this made demand for my services even higher, because a lot of the schools globally were closed because of the pandemic. And I was laughing all the way to the bank because I was busy all the time teaching, and not taking much time off. If I wasn't preparing the lessons for the students, I was giving the lessons to the students. So it was a very, very busy time for me. And of course, then, because of COVID, gone were the long walks, gone were the touring around Thailand, gone was the golf. The golf courses were all closed. So it wasn't a good time for me getting my physical exercise that I should have been doing. But I didn't think too much about that at that time. But as COVID started easing away and things started easing up again, and things were opening, schools were opening, etc., I knew I was totally washed out and needed a break. I'd worked very, very hard during this pandemic situation. And I decided in November last year, actually, I decided I was going to have a good break. And I canceled all lessons for December and January. And also at the beginning of February, I took a break and traveled to the UK. And this was the start of acknowledging, thinking that I'm not what I should be, physical-wise. I landed in the UK at an exceptionally cold time of the year. And as I got off the plane, even the cold air, breathing in the ice cold air into my lungs was very, very painful, very painful. And it caused me concern. I have experienced this in the past also, and I know that ice cold air can do this to you. But also when I was out in the town and I was walking about, I found that all my muscles and my joints were all seizing up, and I couldn't walk very far at all. And I put it all down to the cold, which I've experienced before. When it's exceptionally cold, your joints, etc., do start giving you problems. And therefore, I didn't really pay much attention to it. But I was so happy a few days later when I got on a plane to bring me back to Thailand. And as soon as I hit the warmth of the Thai climate, everything went back to normal, as I thought normal, but maybe not. But now that I was back and everything was normal, did I start taking long walks again? No. Did I take up golf again? No. Did we do any more touring? No. Instead, I gave myself a new project to work on, which I'll talk about in another video as well. But basically, I opened another YouTube channel, and I was preparing online videos for students of English. And it's in particular some specific exams that a lot of students study for. And I could see that as a better option to giving online lessons, and maybe not so much strenuous. But it's still taking a lot of time. And I'm still developing this at the moment, actually. And it's going pretty positively. Keep my fingers crossed. And I'll cover that in the teaching video, how to specialize and how to make it work for you. Then the next alarm point came along. A few months ago, I went out for a few drinks with a friend into Pattaya city and down the town. And as we were going around to different bars and heading for different places, he's a pretty fit guy. He trains out every day. And I just couldn't keep up with the speed he was walking. And it was getting painful just to try and walk long distances, or any distances, actually, more than a couple of 100 meters. And I was beginning to feel the muscles in my legs and my back end giving me a lot of agony. So I thought, this is not right. This is not right. Then I started noticing this at home also, that I didn't have the physical strength that I usually had. And instead of thinking in an active way, I decided that to help myself, I'd have to rest more to improve myself. So I was going to bed very early and getting up quite late in the morning, and not doing too much during the day, just sitting again in front of the computer for hours and hours and hours and taking no exercise. And this is the problem. This is definitely the problem. Not only was my lower body giving me jet me is Thai for pain. Was that my lower body was giving me a lot of pain, and still does for if I overexert myself, but also my upper body. I don't have the physical strength that I used to have. For instance, even if I'm getting dressed and going showering and dressed in the morning and get everything done, quite often I had to go and lie down for 5 minutes just to, okay, I'm ready for the day now. I'd go and do something outside. I'd go and maybe bring the water bottles in or whatever. Then I'd have to sit down for 5 minutes just to recuperate from the physical exertion, which should have been absolutely no problem at all. And this then gave me the real concerns, and I started working on it. And I went and got a checkup, and they done a full checkup for me in the hospital, and they don't, fortunately, touch wood, they said that they haven't found any serious problem. And the problems I do have are through lack of exercise, like staying in your bed for months. And the old adage, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And that's what's been happening to me. And I am losing it now. So have I started to take real exercise to try and build my strength up again? No, but this is the point of the video also. Because from completion of this video, I will be doing exercises every morning and every evening. Not too much, slowly, build it up, get more and more. I've got a rowing machine here. I used to use that sometimes, obviously not enough, but I'll do that. And also walking, I think, is one of the biggest aspects I've got to keep going now, get my strength back. And I watch a lot of the videos on YouTube from the specialist people, the physiotherapists, because obviously I'm not a very good physiotherapist, the way I've been treating my body. But I watch the videos from the physiotherapists, how to reclaim your strength. And that's what I intend to do. So that's my problem, and that's my health problem. And it could be serious. As the doctor said, you know, if you look at it, 4 years now, I've done virtually nothing exercise-wise. And that's a serious long time without your normal walking and all the rest of it. So I need to work on that. But when we've been out shopping, you know, when I've been out shopping with the wife and we go down to the big supermarkets and that, I watch people because, for instance, if I go up and down stairs just now, I have to make sure I've got a handrail because I often trip up on the stairs, and I've had a couple of very near serious accidents where I've tripped and fallen. And even walking in areas where the pathways or the ground is uneven, it can give me problems also because I'm not using my feet and my legs the way that normal people use them in the walking. And when we're in the shopping malls, etc., I see people walking that I can identify have a very similar problem. Lots and lots of them, actually. Yeah, older guys that have probably lived through the last few years exactly the way I've lived through, and they don't realize the damage that's been done to them sitting in front of the televisions or doing whatever they do, and letting their bodies deteriorate around about them. And that does affect your mortality rate, and it can be very, very serious. So I'm hoping I'm going to spend a few more years watching my flower grow in my garden here in Pattaya and watch her develop. But I know if I want to do that, I have to do something about me. If you know of anybody, please tell me about them in the comments. What I'd like to do is, and what I will do is I will start updating this particular subject on a regular video and let you see what I'm doing and how I'm feeling and if I'm improving. And maybe if there are many other people in the same boat that recognize they're in the same boat and maybe want to get together and we'll talk about it and we'll give each other advice, that would be super. So any comments would be well appreciated. I think I've rambled on enough, and I think I've told you about the problem enough. So thank you for watching. If you know people, anybody you're related to, have a look and see how they are. It could help if you can push them in the right direction and give them a bit of advice. See you again soon. Bye for now.